I think it's especially important if I did not grade your paper for you to especially be listening to the little things that I talk about being nitpicky on when I'm grading. Because if I didn't grade your paper specifically, you may have one of those nitpicky little things, but because I graded somebody else's, you didn't notice that. Okay? So I really want you to pay attention to that aspect of this. Now, I am planning on doing this test somewhat on the computer. It's going to be partially computer, partially paper. And let me explain why. Okay? We need to get more and more comfortable with doing things on the computer, because the testing that comes at the end of the year, the SBAC, is all on the computer. College tests are moving to computers. Placement tests for college, it's all going towards computers. So the more familiar and comfortable you are with different ways of assessing on a computer, the easier it's going to be for you to adapt to whatever situations you find yourself in. Okay? So I'm going to show you exactly what it's going to look like. Now, here is actually what my IM2 test is going to look like. Actually, you can't see that. Let me turn it on. Here, let's get ready here. Okay, so this is what their test is going to look like. Do you notice that there's no questions on it? So the questions are going to be on the computer. This is where their work is going to go. And then they're going to type in the answer on the computer. So I'm going to be able to go back and look at their work for the problems, but the answers and such will be on the computer so that grading can go faster. Now, I obviously can't do that for a graph because I do need to see certain components of a graph to be able to give you credit for it, right? So on your paper for these first 4 questions, you will have a graph. You will have an XY chart, and I will expect to see some work that I'll show you in a minute, but your asymptote, domain, equation, and range will all be put in on the computer. Does that make sense? And then you'll just do the actual graphing part on here. And then these guys will be on the computer like your quiz, and you notice how it says like y equals, this answer happens to be y equals 0, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. But on your computer, you're not going to type in y equals 0, you're just going to type in 0. Right? So, yeah, and there will be boxes like this for those problems for you to show your work. And when we get to the back, I will show you exactly what components of your work I need to see. Okay? So, here we go. With our graphs, here's where I started. Where's my camera all crooked here? Hang on. I started off identifying H and K. So in this particular one, what is H?
-8.
-8. What is K?
2.
So, what is my asymptote? -8? I'm not going to get that right. X equals -8. Can you type that in decently to a keyboard?
Yes.
Yeah. Should be easy, right? What is my domain then?
X is greater than -8.
X is greater than -8. Do you know where the greater than sign is on your keyboard?
No. Oh wait, it's on the bottom right.
It's towards the bottom right. Let me see if I can scoot this out to where you can see it. Now this is totally backwards, but do you see my M? Here's my greater than and less than signs.
Yes.
I'm just using those. So I should be able to type in X is greater than -8 pretty easily, right? Okay. All real numbers is my range, right? That should be the easy points. When we get to that on the test, I'm just going to have you type in a capital R. Okay? You don't need to type out all real numbers. Just type a capital R and you're good. Okay? Yeah. Those are easy, right? So my asymptote is X equals -8. I'm going to go ahead and draw that in. That would be back here. Yes? So what goes in the middle of my XY chart? 2. Where's the 2 from? That is my K value. Now some people say, can I just put any value into my XY chart? And I say no. I need to see the middle of your graph, which means I need to see your K value right there. If I didn't grade your test, let me show you. When I did grade one, I checked each one of those points. I want to know the middle points in the middle and that you have 2 points on either side of that are all consecutive. I checked those 5 points exactly. Okay? So let's see. 2, if I pick numbers around there, I have 3 and 4. Yes? And 1 and 0? Okay. So on your paper, you'll be writing your XY chart. That's where I'll check it. To save some time, I'll get there in a minute. Before I can plug stuff in, I got to do some stuff, right? What do I need to do? I need to get my equation, right? So I start off with y equals log of x plus 8 plus 2. And what should I do first? Subtract 2. That gives me y minus 2 is equal to log of x plus 8. And now that the log is alone, I can go to exponential form. However, it's easiest to do that if the log is on the left, right? Yes? So what's my base? To the what power? Y minus 2 equals x plus 8. One more step. 10 to the y minus 2 minus 8 equals x. So I'm going to plug that in right here. Do I need the equals x part, by the way? Why not? Because it says x equals. So I just need 10 to the y minus 2 minus 8. Yeah? There were some groups that did this. You don't need to put the equals x there. It's already on there for you. So on the computer, you're just going to type in 10 to the y minus 2 equals 8. When I type this into the computer, do I know how to get an exponent? Remember on the menu how I can get an exponent? Do you remember that? No? I would type in a 10, and then one of the toolbar things looks like that. So I would click that, and it would force me up here. So then I would type my y minus 2, and then how do I get back out of the exponent to type the negative 8? Go down, or you can just arrow to the right. Use your arrow buttons here, and arrow to the right, and it'll take you back to regular text. Okay? So that's not too bad, yeah? Okay. To save time, I'm going to tell you what these are. You should know how to plug these into your calculator at this point, and I think most of you do because you guys did well on these graphs. So you end up with, let's see, 92 here, 2, negative 7, negative 7.9, and negative 7.99. Yes? And yours may be in reverse order, but you should still have those exact same 5 points. So 92, 4, I am not graphing. It's not on my graph. 2, 3, I can do. And then negative 7, 2, I can do. Negative 7.91 and 7.990. Okay. Couple other things that I am very particular about. Okay. And if you had me last semester, you know I'm particular about this. If you have an asymptote and you draw in your graph and you're like, oh good, there it is. Okay, there's my graph. I have a major issue with that because it does not bounce off the asymptote and go back. It continues alongside the asymptote like that. So if you do this, it's very likely you could lose a half a point for that. Okay, so be aware of that and be cautious as you are graphing. Don't just scribble scrabble stuff, as I would tell my son. My other class was saying, also you can't cross through it. Well, that should be a no-brainer. If you do that, we're going to have serious issues. You're going to lose a lot more than a half a point. Okay, so make sure you're careful with that. Let's see, any questions about that one? No? All right, how I broke down the points, because this was an 8-point question. You ready? You got 1 point for the equation of the asymptote and the asymptote drawn in. So those were half a point each. Domain and range were half a point each. That's 2 out of the 8 points. Your equation was worth 2 points. The graph itself was worth 2 points. And the XY chart was worth 2 points as well. So if you want to see that broken down, I can show you on my answer key. I have it all broken down as to what points I'm given for what. Okay? So that's what makes up your 8 points. So on your scratch paper, or on the paper you get, I expect to see the graph, the XY chart, as well as this work right here. I do want to see this work of how you got to your equation. Okay? Not too bad? All right, let's move on. What is my H value here? -5. What is my K value? So what is my asymptote? X equals -5. What is my domain? X is greater than -5. What's my range? All real numbers. Again, on the computer, how are you going to type that in? Just a capital R. That's all you got to do. All right, what goes in the middle of my XY chart? -3, my K value. So I'm going to fill in values around there. -4, -5, -2, and -1. And then we got to do our rearranging. I have log base 2 of x plus 5 minus 3. Oops, I forgot my y equals. So I'm just going to put it over here. That way I won't have to reverse stuff. What am I going to do first? I'm going to add 3. So let's see. Log base 2 of x plus 5 equals y plus 3. And as long as your log is on the left, we can go to exponential form. If your log isn't on the left, then flip it so it is. What is my base?
2.
Exponent? Equals? And last step? Subtract 5. Whoops, not there. Here. So I get 2 to the y plus 3 minus 5 is equal to x. So what do I put up here? 2 to the y plus 3 minus 5. All right, where's my asymptote? It's at -5. So that's going to be right there. To save a little time, I'm going to go ahead and fill this in for you. -4.75, -4.5, -4, -3, -1. Again, when you're plugging this into your calculator, just to make sure we're all on the same page, you do need to make sure that, like if I plug in -5, I have 2 to the -5 plus 3. You must put that exponent in parentheses. So that way, your calculator knows that that 5 is not a part of the parentheses when you're calculating it. And there's your -4.75. Okay, so be aware of that. And let's plot our points. -4.75, -5, -4.5, -4, -4, -3, -3, -2, and -1, -1. So you can see this one kind of goes like that. Okay, questions on that one? Again, I need to see the graph, the XY chart, and this work on your paper. Okay? All right, number 3. What's my H value? 0. What's my K value?
0.
Also 0. What's my asymptote?
0. Or
X equals 0. You just put 0, it's going to mark it wrong. My domain? X is greater than 0. Range? And what am I going to do for the computer for that? Just a capital R. What goes in the middle of my XY chart? 0. Fill in your values around there. And now let's do some rearranging. Y equals -4 natural log of x. What do I do first? Divide by -4. So I have y over -4 is equal to the natural log of x. I'm going to go to exponential form, but it's easiest if my log is on the left. So natural log of x equals y over -4. So going to exponential form, what's my base? To the y over negative 4 equals x, and x is by itself, thank goodness. So my equation is e to the y over negative 4. So? All right, I'm going to fill in your values here for you. Again, if you're having any issues with your calculator and how you plug in values, please see me before you take your test. In other words, see me today so we can fix that. Your asymptote is right there at 0. Okay, and then let's see, 1.6, negative 2, 1.3, negative 1, 1, 0, 0.81, and 0.62. Now this one, it's a little bit hard to see because the curve is very gradual. But you should be able to see that this is the side that's close to your asymptote, and this is the side where it's gradually coming out. Okay, that should be clear. Any questions about that one? By the way, how do you type this equation into the computer? Well, you would press the E on the keyboard, and then when you do your exponent button, remember this guy up here? When you press this, it'll give you a little box to start typing into. Put your cursor in that box and then press the fraction button, and it'll make that exponent into a fraction for you to type it in. Okay? I promise it's not hard. All right, backside. Here's the place where people finally lost a point or a half a point. Not like I'm trying to make you lose points, but what is my h value here? 0. What is my k value? Negative 3. If this was in parentheses, what would my h value be? 3. And my k value would be 0. Same process though, right? What's my asymptote? X equals 0. Don't forget that x equals. What's my domain? X is greater than 0. And what's my range? All real numbers, you're going to type in a capital R. What goes in the middle of my XY chart? Negative 3. And then fill in our values around there. And now let's do some rearranging. So I have y equals log base 1/4 of x minus 3. What do I do first? Add 3. So I have y plus 3 is equal to log base 1/4 of x. And I'm going to write the log on the left so I can go to exponential form. All right, what's my base? To the what power? What does my base absolutely have to have here? Parentheses. Will I mark you down if you don't have parentheses? Heck yes. Because you are changing the meaning. Remember, if you don't put parentheses there, if you just write it like this, you're really saying that it's only going to the numerator. If it's going to both the numerator and the denominator, there better be parentheses there. A lot of you missed that on the quiz that we took. So let's see, 1/4, the y plus 3 equals x. So my equation here would be parentheses 1/4. Then you would press your exponent button and plug in y plus 3 on the exponent. Questions there? All right, my asymptote is at 0. And then, let's see, let me fill in your values here. You have 16, 4, 1, 0.25, and 0.06. Yes? 16, negative 5 doesn't fit on my graph, but 4, negative 4, 1, negative 3, 0.25, negative 2, and 0.06, negative 1. We have a graph that goes something like that. Again, what do I expect to see on your paper? the graph with the asymptote, the XY chart, as well as the work shown to get from log form to exponential form. Any questions about the graphs? Because out of a 50-point test, there's 4 of them worth 8 points each. That's how many points? 32. That's more than half the test. Okay. All right, moving on to these guys. Again, these guys, there'll probably be boxes like this for you to show your work, and you'll type your answer in on the computer. Show work as if you had no calculator. So I'm going to show you specifically what I expect to see. First thing I expect to see is I expect to see you writing this in exponential form. So what would this be in exponential form? What would the base be? To the what power? Equals 1. Now, this one is a little different because I can't do matching bases like I'm going to expect to see on those guys. I just need to know that any exponent on a number, in order to get a result of 1, that exponent has to be what? 0. So in other words, 10 to the 0 equals 1. So that's where I would say y equals 0. So in the computer, do I type in y equals 0 or do I just type in 0? Just 0. Just 0 on these guys. Okay. Questions about that one? All right, number 6. I need to see exponential form. What's exponential form here? 128 to the equals 32. And now I need to talk about common bases. We need to get the same base. Can I write those both as a power of 32? No. Can I write them both as a power of 8? 2? Okay. So I need to see that 128 is 2 to the what power? And then 32 is 2 to the 5th. This step I have to see. That's your matching bases. That's your justification for getting 7y equal to 5. Divide by 7. And what does y equal? So in your computer, do you type in y equals 5/7? You just type in 5/7. Okay? But it is critical that I see this step where they're matching the bases. Okay?
Bless you.
Excuse me, that's probably going to startle some people on the video. Sorry. All right. Number 7. I'm going to go to exponential form first. The log is not on the left, so I'm going to put equals y here, so that way it is on the left. So what would the base be? To the what power? Equals 1 over 44. Sorry, 1 over 144. What do I know about the number 144? I know that 144, some of you might be able to skip this step, but I know that 144 is 12 squared. Yes? Some of you may be able to skip this step and go straight to the fact that in order to make that a matching base, I have to make that exponent negative. Right? So you technically can jump straight from there to here if you want to. But if you don't see that, then write it in that way. So now that I have my matching bases, again, that's the important step that I need to see. I can now conclude that y equals -2. So I'm just going to type in -2. Okay, questions there? All right. How about over here? I'm ready to go to exponential form because my log is on the left. So what's my base? To the what power? Equals 64. I need to get common bases, so I'm going to say 2 to the y is equal to 2 to the what?
Oh my god, bro.
And again, that's the important part that I need to see where the bases are matching. So that's my justification that y equals 6. So I type in 6 as my answer. Easy peasy? Good. All right, again, my y equals is on the left. I'm going to move it to the right. So what's my base? 1 over 125 to the what power? Equals, and I can write it just like that, right? No. Parentheses! Don't be the person that still misses those parentheses. All right, Can I write those both as powers of 25? What am I going to have to write them as? Powers of 5. So I know that this is 1 over 5 cubed, right? 5 cubed is how I get the 125. And I know this is 5 squared. The bases don't match yet, though, because I need this to be a base of 5. So I'm going to call this 5 to the what? Negative third. Still with that y up there. And now there's that important step I have to see with the matching bases. So negative 3y is equal to 2. Divide by negative 3. And y equals negative 2/3. So I type in negative 2 over 3. Capiche? Okay. Last one. I'm okay with you not showing work on this one. Because if you know everything that you're talking about, this is a basic matchy-matchy rule. Right? So if you think about it, matchy-matchy rule, it's actually y equals log base e of e to the 7th, and there's your matchy-matchy. Your answer is 7. Right? Because natural log means log base e. Now, if I don't remember the matchy-matchy rules, or I don't recognize that right off the bat, then do the same thing we did over here. Put the equals y over here. Go to exponential form. Remember your base here is really a base e, so it would be e to the y is equal to what? E to the 7th. There's those matching bases, so there's my conclusion that y equals 7. Okay? So either you can just go straight to the answer if it's clearly a matchy-matchy, or again, show me those matching bases. Okay? Happy studying!